So it's Eastern, and I'm thinking a bit about Christ, right? And also about time, because time is related to Chronos, and Chronos, well, time and place, those are two of the main things of this matrix reality, which is supposed to be an illusion and only represents a fraction of the totality of existence if you see it from the visual spectrum perspective and also the audio spectrum perspective. Yes. So the fact that we live in 2026 is due to a certain counting. Yes, counting. And then the counting starts with Jesus Christ. So I'm thinking, well, I'm quite sure that the reality that we live in right now is basically, that means that Christ owns time. And also the fact that many of today's holidays are related to Christ, like Easter, like Christmas, that also in terms of, for example, my atheist colleague, yeah. So basically, if he wants it or not, he lives in Christ time, yes. And it's also interesting that Christ consciousness is, so Christ is supposed to come back at the end of times, yeah, end of time. So maybe this is just about it. And then apocalypse and stuff like that. If you look at contemporary developments, one could definitely call it that as such. And Christ consciousness is something inherent. And then if you read the Christ letters, the thing is, everything is a matter of perspective, right? So, and then we have solipsism and all that. But anyway, just to say that in those Christ letters, it talks a lot more about the quantum physical part about Christ. And it's very interesting because it's a fact that years after it was decided that by some people which parts of the Bible were supposed to be in and which parts not, and also there seems to be some the book of Enoch, for example, or books, they have been found later on, and it turns out that they should have been inside and they're not. So it's manipulated. Let's put it like that. So some stuff we're supposed to know and other stuff we're not supposed to know. And if you fight against people who crucified a person like Jesus, then okay, forgiveness, or maybe it should be a little more forgive and forget, fuck this and fuck that. Just to say that maybe at some point we cannot take revenge in the matrix world, but in the cosmic world we have to, because if you don't fight evil, and then what you resist persists. So it's sort of like a delicate balance of paradoxical truths with between both extreme polarities of every spectrum, basically. And just to say that I think it's very interesting that actually Jesus is the same as Father Time, Chronos. Yeah. And that's also related to Saturn, and Saturn is very much this broadcasting kind of thingy that, read David Icke, and it's very interested that this sort of, which is kind of a blatant truth actually, and sort of like in your face, but it only comes to me right now, on Eastern. Interesting. Anyway, just to share my thoughts about Eastern, and I'm reading my book again. Yeah, it's very interesting. And I also think I should give myself some credit. And in my defense, if you're like, well, not fight against, but sort of express your truth in a specific setting of contemporary evil developments, not very much present in the majority of people, but nevertheless, because they're sort of in this projection thing of what I don't do, I don't expect other people to do, but nevertheless, so it's sort of like cognitive dissonance meets ignorance, conditioned ignorance, and sort of trying to switch to like people are not good inherently, which is definitely not true. And that's also why the book The Lord of the Flies, I think it was that one when the kids were on that island. Actually, there's a real version of that, which is not at all like that. They had like a really organized thingy based on respect and love and cooperation instead of evil manipulation. So let's say we've been conditioned to think life is evil, but it's anything but. And you know, if you see, okay, there are certain animal species that thrive or they have to feed on others to perpetuate existence, but maybe there are other ways. You know, I know somebody who had a vegan cat, you know. Can you imagine? So it does exist, and maybe it's a question of evolution, and who knows. And yeah, just to say that's interesting that sort of Jesus is like Father Time, Chronos, Saturn. Yeah, so resurrection.